Local Christians believe that Adam's Peak, one of the tallest mountains in Sri Lanka, bears the footprint of Adam. In other words, Sri Lanka could be the original Eden. In fact, the old European term for the island is serendip, from which comes the expression serendipity, meaning discovery of an unexpected pleasure. From a paradise under the palms to a country plunged into the horrors of civil war, the question is, what went wrong?
What happened actually was that during the British times, the Tamil people especially, and the burgher community, which was the descendants of the Dutch and the British, the whites, were very advantaged, if I may say so. The policy of divide and rule by the British. And there was a much larger percentage of those minority communities that had government jobs and the perks than the majority community. And after independence, naturally, you know, there is a resurgence of nationalism, patriotism. There was a single only thing in this country, the language of the 75% of the population, which became the state language. And then the minorities felt they were being discriminated against vis-a-vis schools, university, and jobs because of their poor knowledge of the language. And the problem started from there.
Sri Lanka won its freedom from the British in 1948 as an offshoot of Indian independence. The electoral democracy that Britain bequeathed 50 years ago remains intact, but it has done little good. Sri Lanka is in fact an example of how democracy can tear a country apart if politicians do the wrong thing, like fanning ethnic animosities. So when the island nation was preparing for its Golden Jubilee celebrations in Kandy on February 4th this year, a bomb attack on the holiest Buddhist shrine only hardened Sinhalese postures towards any negotiations for peace with the LTTE or Tamil Tigers.
Nothing in the history of Sri Lanka has hardened Sinhala opinion like the bombing of Dalida Maligava, the Tooth Temple, in Kandy, where Lord Buddha's tooth is kept. The nation is traumatized. It is a little bit like the desecration of Mecca or St. Peter's or Tirupati. Naturally, the government blames the LTTE. The peace process has obviously come to a halt. In fact, one can almost hear the war drums roll.
All the peace-loving, moderate people who are always in the vast majority, they may be silent, but they are the majority. They feel that this is not a time to contemplate talking to the tigers or even trying to be particularly accommodating or reasonable with them. That is a very natural reaction, and that is something we must respect.
But fortunately, there was no backlash. President Chandrika Kumaratunga says it is the result of a government effort to isolate the extremists from the Tamil community.
The first thing I went on the air and told the people was that we see the Tamil people as separate from the terrorists. But the Tamil people are not terrorists. They do not want separation. They only want to live in peace, but dignity, with all their rights with us. And I think the Sinhala people have got the message very clear.
The Tamil people are also war-weary. The 14-year-old conflict has left more than 50,000 dead on both sides. They are no longer persuaded, as they once were, that Ilam or a separate state is indeed round the corner. The LTTE also no longer looks invincible. But the impasse on the Tigers' side is matched by the stalemate in the camp of the Lion, symbol of the Sri Lankan state. The real problem has been to forge a Sinhala consensus on what the president will be allowed to offer to the Tamils.
This government has presented to Parliament a set of constitutional proposals which departs from the unitary state that represents a significant new development. Of course, to translate that into meaningful constitutional reform, we need the support of the United National Party. And here, of course, we have the same old story repeating itself, the lack of a southern consensus.
So vicious and personalized is the row between Chandrika's ruling party and the opposition that a package put together by one is unacceptable to the other.
I agree that from the Tamil side, there's an LTT obstacle is there. but I am not very much bothered about that, because the solution should come from the south, from the singular politicians.
Peace is not possible because the majority community is not willing to accept, does understand the aspirations of the Tamil people.
While there is no consensus on the Sinhala side, the Tamil side too is splintered into several factions. Douglas Devananda of the Ilam People's Democratic Party, a Tamil party, is in fact the most implacable opponent of the LTTE. Having carried out an armed struggle for a separate state, today Devananda is a vocal advocate of the ballot as a long-term solution. In fact, in the last council elections held in the north, his party contested and won 11 of the 17 seats. He warns against negotiating with the LTTE because the LTTE, he says, will never concede democracy to Ilam, whatever form it may take.
The last election, the turnout was 42%. It's a good start. But the people who contest the election in Jaffna, they all criticize the government policy and the government package. And they got the people's support. At the same time, LTT view is not to participate in the election or not to contest in the election, or they don't want to have an election there. So they know if the elections take place, they will be sidelined.
There seem to be few takers for the Devananda approach, but there are others who believe that efforts towards peace must be carried out at all costs.
You know, the famous Mahabharata thing where Yudhishthira says, goes back to play the game of dice, and his brothers say, why are you going back, you're going to lose again. And he says, no, no, I have to give peace every chance.
Maybe Chandrika's only hope for peace is to play the game of dice one more time. 50 years after Sri Lanka gained independence, that may be the country's best chance of regaining paradise.